This is Denise Cooper, and I am going to talk about the Black Panthers, what I know so far about this book, and things I want to do going forward with my research on some of my heroes and sheroes. Stay tuned. Like, comment, and subscribe. So there is Helter Skelter, scary guy in here. Charles Manson was in prison with Geronimo Pratt. Oh my goodness. They even exchanged words and some weird sense of likability. I don't know. I needed more from that part of the story. Excuse me. And then also, now he's in prison in the hole, which is completely, totally, sorry, I hit ya, but completely, totally against the law to have someone in the hole as long as he has been. It's almost like his whole time that he's in prison, he's assigned to be in solitary confinement in the hole, aka hole. Crazy. They're just testing this guy, right? And remember the tennis murders. So he's supposed to be in prison for murdering this lady, right? And at some point, you know, he's been transferred from prison to prison to prison, and each prison he's in, he's always in the hole. Well, the FBI comes to get him, and they're transferring him somewhere, and they admit, okay, that they know that he was not the killer of the lady. Now they're trying to pin him for Sharon Tate's disappearance, right? And they're wanting to know where she's at, like he knows. He's been in the freaking hole, okay? It's crazy. Just all kind of stuff. Now we're into this hippie lawyer who's helping Geronimo Pratt. What happened to Johnny Cochran? Don't know. But anywho, there's a lot of things going on here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. Oh, and what they did to her sister. Basically, he doesn't want his family members to come and visit him because of the way that they treat people, the prisoners, and with the strip searching and looking all up their boom booms and stuff. And then to have Johnny Cochran, I think he came one time around 8 o'clock in the morning, and he sat there until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he still never got to see Geronimo Pratt. So things like this are happening to the visitors. And then he, of course, has his sister come up there, and spoiler alert, they strip search her, probing her body parts, putting things, yeah, so he, of course, finds out, gets completely, totally mad, and warns the guard to not ever do that. Tells his sister to never come back there. You know, he gets word to her, and tells the guards to never ever put his hands on his sister rather, or any other black woman for that matter. And don't forget it, right? So they are going through it. The people who are trying to defend him, the family, and of course Geronimo himself. No, I'm not done with this book. No, I'm not. And I've listened to so many different audiobooks during reading this book, and I'm milking it and taking my time. Not really milking it, like I don't want to be done, I do. So it's kind of a different milking that I was doing at first, because I was really looking on the internet and trying to find out a lot of what was going on with the Black Panther Party during this time. Like, why didn't they show up for him? What was going on with Huey P. Newton? Why didn't he support him? You know, and all these crazy heroic thoughts that I had of the Black Panther Party, and then come to find out Geronimo Pratt wasn't even a part of the party, didn't want to be. He was just in there for the, you know, to teach them all this tactical weaponry and you know, defense basically. And so it's just kind of going, it's horrible. The United States government, horrible things that they did to the Panthers, all these trumped up charges, things that I knew about, but not to this level where you're inside this book, and just all the rumors that go around, the things that he was involved in while he's in the hole. Okay, But yeah, so it's just going there. It's all over the place. Not all over the place isn't a bad thing, but what they did to him, they're just pulling. And we're all into the COINTELPRO and all that. Things that I knew about, but just when I'm reading his story, I don't know. It's just, they were doing too much, and they got away with it. The American government got away with this. I'm on page 200 and, let me see, 16 and 17. I'm on 216. I think I'm right there in the middle, the last paragraph. And yeah. So in steps another lawyer doing this pro bono, hippie type guy who doesn't make a lot of money, he doesn't care, and he's getting all into the cases and trying to help Geronimo Pratt out. They, didn't want him having books, and they're, writing petition basically to try to get him to be able to read the law books he wants to read to try to help his case out. They're withholding that information from him. They find, I guess, cases and it seems like Geronimo knows more about this particular law. He makes a suggestion to his lawyer. They search it out because it's just not right for them to withhold information from this prisoner. And so going through that right now, just appeals and all kind of crazy stuff. And I'm still so involved in this book. I hate that this happened to him and any other Black Panther, but the book is really, really well told. The story is well told. Nonfiction. I'll see you guys in a little bit, and I'll talk about something else maybe. All those audiobooks I've been listening to that are so fantastic. Y'all know I can't see. I got my glasses right here. And my notes. Oh, I just keep kicking stuff. Oh. Well, let me back up because I was going to be going over my notes, and I really need to maybe start scripting things out, or at least following some good, notes so that I can make a proper video and make some cohesive points here. Y'all know who y'all watching. So anyway, let's see here. Books July 1st, 2020 to July 1st, 2021. Reading Blackout, which I haven't been completely following because when I was working at home yeah, I'm no longer working at home. I'm no longer employed. Yeah, waiting for a call tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get something. And I've also made a decision to start looking for work in my hometown of Topeka, Kansas, because I want to move back home for real. Being that Kansas is only an hour away and I travel from here to there in 1 hour, when I live there, and whenever I want to come to Kansas City, I can just come to Kansas City. Okay. Because my sisters still live here. Okay. So anyway, all my painting projects are there. Okay. And I want to start helping Stevie paint backdrops for his Nutcracker, which is called the Chocolate Nutcracker, which is coming this winter. I want to help him do that. I'm supposed to. He said I could. I'm in there. I'm an iTab artist. So anyway, book, okay? And I just watched his video. Okay, so this past Saturday, right, there was a birthday party for his mother, her 81st birthday party. Oh, I'm trying to get video off my phone and off my Nikon, which I think I got all the video off my Nikon of the birthday party. But my phone, the connection, it won't upload. Anyway, I don't know what's going on there. Book. Anyway, watch Stevie's video today. He took his mom to the lake. Such beautiful scenery. Just to have that mother and son time out in that beautiful nature. Like, this is why, y'all will see why, like, how he treats his mother and his sister and me and all the women, his friends, the dancers, the kids. He's so involved. It's so beautiful. I'm gonna stop. Stephen Massey. Oh gosh. That was a beautiful day. I know I'm gonna watch that video several times because I love his mother like she's my own. Okay. Alright, now, so back to Geronimo Pratt. Let's see here. Notes about finishing Midnight. I already talked about that. See, if I don't say this word a lot and then I don't know how to pronounce it the next time I look at it. Pedagogical, I believe. And I already talked about that in another video. Yeah, so I did go over that page. I think what I wanted to talk about is because the last time I said I would come back and I'd tell you about kind of how this book is affecting me and my thoughts and so forth and so on. And so that's what I'm planning on doing. But I want to get to it. See if I didn't leave anything out. Just kind of skimming over my notes while doing the video. This could be a real short video if I would have done it beforehand, wouldn't it? But then you wouldn't get the real me, so excuse me while I do my thing. Anyway, Johnny Cochran, his lawyer, blah, blah, blah. And I talked about Johnny Cochran and that particular thing. Oh, my vocabulary words. I didn't define them yet. Yeah. Not even going to try or attempt to pronounce them or educate you on what I've learned about them when I wrote them down. Because what I did was I wrote the words and then I didn't write the definitions. I only looked them up online. Okay, duplicitous. Resentful, right? Ooh. Oh, I also wrote down this question. Why were Newton and Cleaver rivals? Why didn't Newton like Pratt? Now, one of the first ever Black Panther books I read was Eldridge Cleaver's Soul on Ice. I read that when I lived back in Florida, 10 years ago, okay? And when I had my first book club ever. So I really enjoyed reading that book. I still have that book. I actually have it, the soft cover that I read years ago. Then fast forward, years later, I found the hardcover of Eldridge Cleaver. Just the name of the book is Eldridge Cleaver. And I also found right along with it Soul on Ice on hardcover. Both of them in hardcover. Loving it. So I want to read more about that. But I've always, just to give you a backstory on what I wanted from this book and why I'm reading it. It's because I wanted to always read books about the Black Panthers, from the Black Panthers themselves, their voices, or just any type of article written. I always wanted to, way back in the day, I used to look at the microfiche of the articles that were written in the news at the time that they were in the news in the 60s. So I've always had this love affair with them. So I've read a lot of different things about the Panthers, but what this book did and what I wanted to touch on is how it kind of changed me, or my thoughts. Not changed me really, but in a way, because they are my thoughts and my thoughts are me. I wrote down how, let me just go back and see where it's at. Oh, I did mention this. I've always wanted to read all of the books by the Panthers, about the Panthers, and so forth. So that's from the things I've been writing down. I also said I haven't done well because so far I have only read Assata Shakur, Mumia. I have 2 Mumia books. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I only have 2, and I read those, and I listened to, I used to listen to, the Alice Walker, when she would talk about, and the way she says Mumia, because I know I'm saying it wrong, the whole free Mumia, movement. So I would watch a lot of those videos and interviews of people that were getting involved in his life. And so Assata Shakur, two Mumia books, some of Angela Davis, and Assata, which was written by Jasmine Guy, was really good. And Soul on Ice by Eldridge Cleaver, like I just said. And now I want to read the Eldridge Cleaver book. Let's see what else. Of course, I know about articles and some of the books that I've read, but not to completion, about Huey P. Newton, because I have all these just, heroic thoughts about all the Panthers. And the ones that stuck out with me the most are the ones that I first picked up. But of course, there's so many more I want to read about. And so far, I haven't done the research like I wanted to. Each time that I would pick up a book and read about it, I promised myself, okay, I'm going to do this every month. So that's what I'm going to do. That's one of the things I learned. Like, what happened to you reading them consecutively, so you can kind of fit the stories together a little bit more, instead of letting years go by before you read another Black Panther book, like the last one, the Jasmine Guy, Afeni Shakur book. That was the last one I read in a long time. Because I read Assata but 20-some years ago. Oh my God. I need to reread it. And at that time that I read it, as soon as I got finished, I gave it to my nephew, right? He read it, loved it. And when he went to college, before that, he wanted to do a paper on Huey P. Newton, the old Black Panther Party, what have you, wanted some books on Huey. And I got him 2 books. I went to the library in Florida, and I got some suggestions because I didn't, of course I want to go to the library to see what they had, and then I was going to write them down and then purchase the books. But I got to talking to this librarian. That a black librarian and a white librarian. One of them was, the black librarian, I found her on Twitter. So amazing, so well put together sister. I love her. And she writes amazing poetry, right? And then the hippie type sister, the white lady, she was like all in. She gave me so much information on Huey P. Newton, all the books that she had read about him. I told her these are books for my nephew in college. He's going to do this paper. She gave me the ones to start out with, and I bought those 2 books from Barnes & Nobles. They were orders. They took a while to come in, but he requested these from me well in time that the books came in. He was able to read them, do his paper, and get a good job done on them, right? I don't have those books. Those were his books. I purchased them for him. But I want to repurchase them for myself. Do I remember the names of them? No, I do not. That was umpteen years ago. But anyway, I bought them, and I just remember they were beautiful. I know one of them had a red, black, and white cover. Okay, so anyway, I've always wanted to get in a good study. So that's what I wanted to say is I've learned that, looking back, how important that was to me to find out what was going on with them. I've had some microfiche information, reading some information on the microfiche, that is, about COINTELPRO. Way, when I was young. But it's been so long ago that the information is just not fresh in my mind. So now when I'm reading over Geronimo Pratt's story, things are coming. But so what I'm going to do here on out is start with the books that I own on my shelf, because I don't want to buy a whole bunch of new books. So I'm going to start with the books that I already have on my shelf that I have not read, and even some that I have, to brush up on them. I'll read them again, brush up on the information that isn't, read them again. So I am happy to want to reread Assata Shakur, Soul on Ice by Eldridge Cleaver, and the Eldridge Cleaver book that I have not read, and also my Angela Davis book that I have, and any other thing that I can find around the house that has Angela Davis on it. And after I've read what I already own and the Mumia books that I have, revisit those, and those were really good. But I remember I used to look him up online all the time. Oh, talking about Mumia. Now, I know this isn't Black Panther, but to me it was connected in a way, because Mumia, I think he's the one that introduced me to I think, a book about John Africa. You guys know. Anyway, let me tell you. I used to live in New Jersey, right? And when I lived in New Jersey in the 80s, it was called Move. They lived in these row houses in Philadelphia, and watching this on TV with my own eyes and mind, America burnt those houses down. They were supposed to have been living in there with their kids. They didn't send them to school. Whatever they were doing, the American government did not like it. And they were growing real long, thick dreadlocks, just free forming. They all were just living life the way they wanted to. And America did not like it. I'm telling you, coming home from work and watching that being played out on the news, these row houses in Philadelphia just burning and burning. Burning people out as if they were rats or something. So anyway, Mamiya always reminds me of Move. Although I lived in a time where I could watch it on TV, there was books I remember him talking about, or something on his radio podcast or something. He mentioned it, and I need to go back and research that. And I just got to, because I'm going to throw that into my books that I'm going to be reading once a month about the Panthers. Also move into reading about Move and John Africa and everything that I saw. And sometimes I would just try to block it out of my head, but you can't, because you're going to work with all this hate. Like, how could they do that to people? And but how can they do what they're doing now? Still America. Crazy. Okay, so also in the book, got the FBI question Pratt about Sharon Tate. Okay, I talked about in that other little clip. And how they admitted that they know he didn't kill the lady that he was doing time for at the particular time. So I also want to kind of read about some articles about that, because I remember also growing up and knowing that Sharon Tate was all over the news. I remember the whole Helter Skelter thing, and then, I remember stuff like that. So it's putting me back in time. And I'm sure that's why I always wanted to find out about the Black Panthers and read about them, because I lived in the time. Okay, so what else did I have? Started reading one Black Panther book a month until I can correct the fantasies in my head. And what I meant by that is that you think, like when I read the Afeni Shakur book, she mentioned how, and don't quote me line for line, it's just that she mentioned how some of the women were into the Black Panther Party to be with some of the men, and how the men treated the women in the Black Panther Party. And so that's going to go on with any dynamic of male and female. So I'm not saying that just brought me down to thinking, did she belittle the Black Party? But that's going to happen in any group. It happens in college, high school, whatever. Country clubs that have men and women, anything that's just... Anyway, you know what I mean. The dynamic of men and women being in the same place and the same time for, meetings, this, that, and the other. Something's going down. Okay, it happens in the military, everywhere. Okay, so anyway, what I meant by the fantasies in my head is that they were bigger than life. And then reading these books brought it down to life. How they were just human. They were doing an amazing thing. The whole lunch and providing education to these kids, all these things that they did positive, a protection for their people, all of that is heroic to me, right? But then you read these cases and you think about the suffering. So my fantasies make these heroes more real every book I read. And then you get how the government came in between them, like they often do, and see how it shakes their relationships and puts doubt in people like myself who grew up idolizing this party. And it just makes you think, why? But anyway, a whole bunch of questions with why, and I won't go over every question that I have in my head, but it just throws all kind of caution. Although I've never 100% trusted in the government, it just makes you continuously question why. Anyway, so what else did I have on here? When I read Assata Shakur's book, okay, and I thought how happy I was knowing that she was free in Cuba. And every time I would see pictures of her, she'd be smiling and happy, like she wasn't able to come back to the United States, but did she really want to? I'm sure she was happy right where she was, or is, okay, because she's still there. I talked about how, or I was writing about how happy I was to see her pics, and of course the outcome of Angela Davis, you know, being a professor, giving all these talks and interviews and speeches, as we see her now, friend with Toni Morrison, blah blah blah. We're just Angela Davis, okay? And it made me think, and that's when I was writing this down in my notes here, of how happy the outcome of the women were that I know of in the Black Panther Party, and Afeni Shakur. And even though she, you know, they went through it, they seem to have survived better than the men. And I put it on here that is probably why the outcome of the women that I have here and their so-called happy endings, and the gentlemen in the Black Panther parties did not fare out too well, right? And how that is one of the reasons why I was always attracted to, or had an affinity towards, an African American black male's perspective in books and their stories. That's why I attached so many times to, like way before BookTube, where I have always, like when my mother gave me Man-Child in the Promised Land, right? And I wanted to read every book by every nonfiction book that was written by a black male. That's why I wanted to go to Ghana, is because Richard Wright went there first, and to study and find out about Ghana, you know, the first independent country in Africa, and how I wanted to go after he went. You know, I always wanted to know their stories, okay, including the Black Panthers, because it just seems that for those three ladies that I mentioned, their stories came up so much better than the men. Geronimo Pratt spending most of his prison time in the hole. Look at Huey P. Newton. I mean, I think the government just drove him crazy. He went to drugs and thieving his own Black Panther Party. I know that from reading. Okay, and then Umia, still behind bars. So you got, it's very unfair. Very unfair. And sometimes I would have to remind myself to read a book by a female author. For years it would happen like that. I've gotten a lot better since you guys know me during BookTube. A lot better. Because, not that I didn't read books by women, because Alice Walker forever was like my favorite writer. Of course, I read Toni Morrison before you guys met me, and Maya Angelou read almost everything that she's written. And then after all the new stuff, I got kind of caught up as I've been grown, but the early stuff I had already read. So, guys, anyway, that's where I think all that came from, and I know that's where it all came from, is that it just seems like it's not balanced out. Like, how did the women that I've read about be in a better position? Because of course men definitely were a threat to the American government, and maybe they didn't see the women as much of a threat, but not true with Asada, because they sure wouldn't letting her come back. So anyway, that's that. I want, if there's more books by Mumia, I want those, because again, I only had 2, and I'm not sure if that's all he wrote, but I know he has a radio station from prison, and I want to read more, just more, and other than the ones I have. So I'm going to search, you guys, basically, to fulfill my dreams of reading almost everything that I can about the Black Panther Party, so I can put some puzzle pieces together, because I'm a little confused at this point with all the holes that I have in the history that I'm finding so far. That's that. Shut this thing down. Oh, I speak Denise Cooper, and I am reading Blackout 2.0 and gonna insert some Black Panther in every single month this year and next.